Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India NewsHour, India's voice to the world. I'm Amritpal Singh. Coming up in the next 1 hour, Prime Minister Modi returns home after a successful two-nation visit to the United Kingdom and Maldives. Attends the Maldives Independence Day celebrations as chief guest. Prime Minister Modi once again tops global approval ratings, remains the most trusted leader in the world. India's Commerce Minister Piyush Goyal lauds India-U.K. FTA, calls it a game changer and a stepping stone towards the dream of Viksit Bharat. Air India releases interim compensation of 25 lakh rupees each to the 147 families of the AI 171 crash victims. Prime Minister Narendra Modi arrived at the Thoothukudi in southern Indian state of Tamil Nadu after concluding his successful visit to the United Kingdom and Maldives. During his visit to Malé, the Prime Minister attended the 60th anniversary celebrations of the Independence Day there as guest of honor. This is the first time that the Prime Minister has attended the Independence Day celebrations there. He concluded, as I said, his two-day visit to Maldives on Saturday, where he participated in the island nation's 60th Independence Day celebrations as the guest of honor. So the Prime Minister concluded his visit, but on Saturday he was the chief guest at the island nation's 60th Independence Day celebrations. The Prime Minister's participation in the Independence Day celebrations as a guest of honor marks a milestone in bilateral ties between the two countries. The year 2025 also marks 60 years of establishment of diplomatic relations between India and the Maldives. Here's a report.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi attended the 60th Independence Day celebrations of the Maldives in its capital Malé on Saturday as the guest of honor, reinforcing diplomatic ties between the two nations. This is the first time that an Indian Prime Minister attended the Independence Day celebrations in Maldives. Ceremony featured a string of cultural performances that dwelled on the achievements of Maldives as a modern nation. A 21-gun salute by the Maldives National Defence Forces and brass band of the Maldives National Defence Force played the national anthem of Maldives. President Muizu expressed hope that under Prime Minister Modi's leadership, cooperation between the two governments is going to be further strengthened in the coming days.
He's a wonderful person who's very fond of building the relationship between its neighbors, India's neighbors, and Maldives and India has a very good relationship that goes back centuries, and with his leadership and cooperation between our two countries, between the two governments, I'm sure it's going to be prosperous, even more prosperous in the days ahead. We all see how India has helped the Maldives in the past, and nobody will doubt how India will be a very crucial partner in going forward.
Earlier in the day, Prime Minister Narendra Modi held a meeting with Maldives Vice President Hussein Mohammad Latif. Prime Minister emphasized that the close collaboration between the two nations has greatly benefited their people. Prime Minister Modi also held discussions with Speaker of the People's Majlis Abdul Rahim Abdullah, Prime Minister also welcomed the formation of the India-Maldives Parliamentary Friendship Group in the 20th Majlis. Prime Minister Modi also met with former President of Maldives, Mohammad Nasheed. Their discussion centered on the importance of Maldives as a valued pillar of India's neighborhood first policy and the Mahasagar vision. Wrapping up his two-day visit to Maldives, Prime Minister Modi interacted with members of the Indian diaspora in Malé. Symbolizing renewed India-Maldives ties, Maldives' top ministers, including their Foreign Minister Abdullah Khalil, Finance and Planning Minister Musa Zamir, Defence Minister and Homeland Security Minister were present at the airport to send off the Prime Minister.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi's two-day visit to the Maldives concluded with a strong message of renewed friendship, shared prosperity and strategic cooperation in the Indian Ocean region. With camera person N.S. Sivakumar, this is Shyama Mishra for DD India, Malé, Maldives.
And Prime Minister Modi once again topped the latest global list of democratic leader approval ratings with a 75% approval score, according to data released by the US-based business intelligence firm Morning Consult. PM Modi was followed by South Korean President Lee Jae-myung at 59%. And this is the Prime Minister arriving at the terminal where he was there. Okay, so the Prime Minister at the Tiruchirappalli Airport inaugurating the terminal, the new terminal of the airport. The Prime Minister arrived here directly from after concluding his visit to the United Kingdom and Maldives. After attending the Independence Day celebrations, he arrived here straight and inaugurated the terminal building. And Prime Minister Modi has once again topped the latest global list of democratic leaders' approvals rating with a 75% approval score. As I was saying, this is the data released by the US-based business intelligence firm Morning Consult. Prime Minister Modi is followed by South Korean President Lee Jae-myung at 59%.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi's popularity remains unwaning as he continues to remain the world's most trusted leader with 75% approval ratings, according to the data by Morning Consult Global Leader Approval Tracker.
फिर एक बार विश्व के सबसे लोकप्रिय नेता के रूप में माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी का नाम फर्स्ट रैंक पर आया है। मॉर्निंग कंसल्ट के इंटरनेशनल सर्वे में उनके प्रति लोगों में विश्वास है। 27 अभी तक उनको अंतर्राष्ट्रीय सम्मान मिल चुके हैं।
Union Minister Sarbananda Sonowal posted on X, once again, Prime Minister Narendra Modi tops the Morning Consult Global Leader Approval Tracker, emerging as the world's most trusted and highest rated leader, backed by over 1 billion Indians, admired across continents. His strong, decisive leadership ensures Bharat's rise and the world's respect. South Korean President Lee Jae-myung emerged as the second most popular democratic leader in the world, with 59% of those surveyed giving him a thumbs up. US President Donald Trump, who returned to power with strong mandate last year, came in at number 8. Prime Minister Modi has held the top position in Morning Consult Global Leader Approval Tracker since 2021, when his rating was 70%. Bureau Report, DD India.
And India and the United Kingdom inked the game-changing trade pact that could redefine economic diplomacy. Prime Minister Modi's recent UK visit sealed the deal, offering massive duty-free access for Indian goods. A huge boost for sectors from agriculture to the auto sector. But beyond trade, this pact signals something bigger: India's growing global power and its bold march towards becoming a developed nation by 2047. DD India's Mihir Maihuri has more details.
For centuries, trade has powered the rise of nations, and today it fuels global influence. With that vision, Prime Minister Modi's visit to the United Kingdom marked a major milestone: the signing of the India-U.K. Comprehensive Economic and Trade Agreement, a deal where both countries win, and for India, the future looks brighter than ever.
I've always said an agreement can only work when it's a win-win for both countries. And there can be no better example than the UK-India partnership, where we can support them in highly labor-intensive products at competitive prices of high quality.
This free trade pact isn't just a business deal. It's a reflection of India's rising stature on the global stage.
The free trade agreement between India and UK clearly reflects the growing relevance and importance of India at the world stage. And it also shows that more and more countries, including and particularly the developed world, is today appreciating that India is the future.
Now, what does India actually gain from the FTA? Full 100% duty-free access for Indian exports to the United Kingdom, covering 99% of UK tariff lines. Zero duty concessions, including quota-based benefits on electric vehicles, with India's quota now 4 times bigger. All benefits kick in from day one of the deal's enforcement. Already, 48.2% of India's export value enters the United Kingdom duty-free under MFN. And now that number is set to soar. Major Indian exports from textiles, gems and jewelry, chemicals to auto parts, pharma and food will get a massive competitive edge. And a big leap for agriculture. Nearly all Indian agri products will enter the UK market duty-free except a few like pork, chicken, eggs, rice and sugar. It's a golden gateway for India's farmers and agri-entrepreneurs. As the world's 4th largest economy, India is charging ahead with a clear goal to become a developed nation by 2047. This trade agreement is more than just numbers on paper. It's a strategic step toward global leadership and prosperity for every Indian. Mihir Makhuri for DD India.
Following the tragic crash of the Air India flight AI-171 on June 12th, the Tata Group airline has so far released 25 lakh rupees interim compensation to the families of 147 of the 229 passengers who perished in the crash and 19 who were killed at the accident site. It was the worst aviation disaster involving an Indian airline in 4 decades. Russia on Saturday claimed to have arrested 2 villages in Ukraine, including one in central Dnipropetrovsk region, marking a fresh advance into an area largely spared seizures of land since Moscow's 2022 invasion. The Russian army said that its forces had liberated the settlement of Malyenka in Dnipropetrovsk weeks after it seized the first village in the region, not one of Ukraine's regions annexed by Russia. In a separate message, Moscow said that it had liberated the settlement of Zeleny Gai in the Donetsk region on the border with Dnipropetrovsk, adding that it was an important stronghold used by Ukraine to protect the region. Overnight strikes launched by both sides, meanwhile, claimed 6 lives, 4 in central Ukraine and 2 in western Russia, according to officials in both countries. Ukrainian drones also hit a radio and electronic warfare equipment plant in Russia's Stavropol region in overnight attacks. The official said that the plant was one of Russia's leading producers of electronic warfare equipment, including radars, radio navigation equipment and remote control radio equipment. And still to come up on DD India NewsHour, US President Donald Trump is on a visit to Scotland as hundreds of protesters take the streets in major cities. Taiwan move to recall opposition lawmakers failed. Tunisians protest against President Said, say the country is an open-air prison.
Let's meet people who are turning local challenges into creative opportunities and showing us that being resourceful isn't just smart, it might be the only way forward.
Right now we have close to 150 species that we are growing, actively trying to find out places where we can plant. And then we do the planting and then also take care of.
We are also working to clean up and desilt rivers to restore their natural flow. These are water conservation, sustainable agriculture, and better waste management.
We want to move away from a globalized, centralized system which can function as a network and compete with the large companies.
Our motto is that all the farmers should switch to millet farming and nutritious food should reach people.
You're watching DD India NewsHour. I'm Amritpal Singh. Thailand and Cambodia's ongoing conflict escalated further, with the two bordering nations pounding each other with artillery fire for the third day on Saturday. New flashpoints emerged as both sides sought diplomatic support, saying they had acted in self-defense and calling on the other to ceasefire. Malaysia also urged to take immediate steps to de-escalate tensions.
Fighting on the Thai-Cambodian border extended into a third day on Saturday as both sides sought diplomatic support, saying they had acted in self-defense and calling on the other to cease fighting and start negotiations. Conflict has raised concerns in the region. Malaysian Prime Minister called on both Thailand and Cambodia to de-escalate the conflict.
Both the Prime Ministers of Thailand and Cambodia have made statements and expressed their gratitude for the assistance provided with ceasefire proposal, even though there is still some exchange of fire. I have asked the Malaysian Foreign Minister to liaise with the respective foreign ministries, and if possible, I will continue engaging with them myself, at least to halt the fighting.
Thai Foreign Ministry spokesperson said Thailand welcomes Malaysia mediating a ceasefire, but Cambodia must first cease the hostilities and show sincerity.
With regards to the involvement of ASEAN Chair, Thailand thank the Prime Minister of Malaysia, His Excellency Anwar Ibrahim, for his role and proposals toward a ceasefire, which Thailand strongly agrees with in principle, although Cambodia must first cease the hostilities and show sincerity. In short, good faith.
While Cambodia said it continues to be fully committed to solving the dispute peacefully, but is also determined to defend its national sovereignty and territory.
Cambodia continues to be fully committed to solving the dispute peacefully, following international law, including the International Court of Justice. At the same time, Cambodia reserves the right to defend itself following Article 51 of the UN Charter. The Royal Cambodian Armed Forces will not stand down in facing the aggressor that is threatening us. The Royal Cambodian Armed Forces is fully determined to defend our national sovereignty and territory by not allowing the invaders to capture it at any cost.
At least 30 people have been killed and more than 130,000 people displaced in the worst fighting between the Southeast Asian neighbors in 13 years. Thai authorities say 13 civilians and 7 soldiers have been killed on their side. Hundreds of Cambodian nationals were seen queuing to register in makeshift refugee camps in Preah Vihear province. Families huddled in emergency tents. The Indian Embassy in Cambodia on Saturday issued an advisory for Indian nationals, asking them to avoid travelling to the Cambodia-Thailand border areas, where two neighbours are locked in their most intense fighting in more than a decade, battling with artillery and ground troops over sections of their disputed 800-kilometre border. Aman Kumar Himanshu's report for DD India.
Meanwhile, India's Ministry of External Affairs said that India is closely monitoring the situation. The official spokesperson Ranveer Jaiswal said that India is closely monitoring the situation along the border between Cambodia and Thailand. The spokesperson added that India has close and friendly relations with both countries and hopes that both sides will take measures for a cessation of hostilities and prevention of further escalation. The ministry has also released helpline numbers of the Embassy of Thailand and Cambodia for any assistance. Helpline numbers of the Indian Embassy in Bangkok or Thailand is +66 61 81 19218, and the helpline of the Indian Embassy in Phnom Penh in Cambodia is +855 92 881 676. US President Donald Trump played golf under tight security on the first full day of his visit to Scotland on Saturday amid protests across the state. Trump's 5-day visit, which is set to mix the leisure with business and diplomacy, has divided the global community. In coming days, Trump will travel to his property near Aberdeen, where he will open a second course named after his mother, Mary Ann MacLeod. His mother was born and raised on Scottish Island before immigrating to the United States. President Trump is due to have talks with British Prime Minister and Scottish First Minister John Swinney, as well as discussing trade with European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen. Meanwhile, hundreds of demonstrators are gathered outside the US consulate in Edinburgh on Saturday to protest against President Trump's visit to Scotland. Protesters listened to the speeches and held signs and placards of criticizing Trump for his policies. Hundreds of Tunisian activists protested in the capital Tunis on Friday against President Kais Saied, denouncing his rule as an authoritarian regime that has turned the country into an open-air prison. Under the slogan, "The Republic is a large prison," protesters marched along the Habib Bourguiba Avenue demanding a release of jailed opposition leaders and activists. In 2021, Sayed suspended the parliament and dismissed his prime minister and invoked his a state of emergency to begin the ruling by decree. Though some of them cheered his efforts, critics called it a move to a coup and said that the events marked the beginning of Tunisia's descent on towards authoritarianism. A political showdown is unfolding in Taiwan as voters head to the polls in what are being called the island nation's largest ever recall election. The outcome could shape or reshape the legislature and shift the balance of power back to the president. Ching Tei's ruling party, DD India's Rahul Upadhyay, brings us more.
Taiwan opposition lawmakers survived a major recall election on Saturday, thwarting a bid to oust 1/5 of the island's parliamentarians. Civic groups backed by Lai's Democratic Progressive Party had sought to unseat 24 lawmakers belonging to the main opposition Kuomintang Party, or KMT, who they accuse of being in cahoots with China.
This happened at a time when threat from China is only increasing by the day. And that is why there are essentially pitched battles between two sides of Taiwan's political spectrum, with the DPP ruling party's side essentially crying foul, essentially labeling the opposition as less than fully loyal opposition, if you will.
Public opinion has been split over the recalls, a legal process that allows voters to oust elected officials before the end of their term.
I voted in favor of the recall today because I believe Taiwan is at a critical moment, one that concerns the future fate of our nation and how we face our most formidable enemy, an enemy that is very close to us.
The campaign targeting KMT lawmakers has dominated politics, newspaper headlines, and social media feeds for months. The DPP needs a minimum of 12 KMT lawmakers recalled to gain temporary control of the parliament. Elections for another 7 KMT lawmakers will be held on August 23rd. Rahul Upadhyay's report for DD India.
Thousands of people rallied in the Malaysian capital on Saturday to demand the resignation of Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim as public discontent grows over rising living costs and allegations of failing to deliver promised reforms. Protesters, mostly wearing black t-shirts and bandanas carrying the slogan Turun Anwar or Step Down Anwar, marched through the heart of Kuala Lumpur before converging in the city's Independence Square to hear speeches by top opposition leaders. Police estimated at least 18,000 were in attendance. Libyan authorities detained around 1,500 undocumented migrant workers in a raid on a neighborhood housing them east of capital Tripoli. Libyan Labour Minister Ali Al-Abed said that Saturday's inspections uncovered housing units where undocumented foreign workers were living. These workers of various nationalities had no residency permits, no official passports, and not even health records.
Today, Saturday, inspections uncovered housing units where undocumented foreign workers were living. These workers of various nationalities had no residence permits, no official passports, not even health records.
Let's now take a look at other stories making news around the world. At least 54 children and about 30 adults swam from Morocco in Spain's North African enclave of Ceuta in the rough seas and fog. The children, who were mostly Moroccan, were taken to the temporary centers in Ceuta, where authorities called for help from the central government in dealings with the latest arrivals. NASA has confirmed that around 20% of its employees are set to depart the agency. A NASA spokesperson said that more than 3,000 individuals are expected to leave, although the final figure may shift over the coming days and weeks. Following the departure, NASA's workforce would stand around 14,000 employees. This is what a spokesperson said. Firefighters used helicopters to battle flames and smoke in Athens on Saturday as the country sweltered under soaring temperatures. Greece and other Mediterranean countries are in an area dubbed as wildfire hotspot, with blazes common during the hot and dry summers. These have become more destructive in recent years due to fast-changing climate, prompting calls for a new approach. And still to come up on DD News, as the Prime Minister concludes his visit to the Maldives, a discussion with a special guest on the show on what was achieved during the visit.
Geopolitics and trade deals. Economic challenges amid development. Hard work and the path to prosperity. It's the economy always. Between walkers, money is what money does and says. Supply creates its own demand. Between the bulls pulls and bears tears. when supply chains globalization and India rises to the podium. We'll get you centered with the economic brief at 8 p.m. every Thursday on DD India.
You're watching DD India NewsHour. I'm Amritpal Singh. The top stories once again. Prime Minister Modi returns home after a successful two-nation visit to the United Kingdom and Maldives. Attends the Maldives Independence Day celebrations as chief guest. India's Commerce Minister Piyush Goyal lauds the India-U.K. FTA, calls it a game changer and a stepping stone towards the dream of a Viksit Bharat. And let's now take a look at, let's talk about the Prime Minister's visit that has just concluded. If I can ask my producer, my executive producer, to put the guest on the this thing. Just a moment. Can I have the name of the? Okay, all right, yes. Okay, I'm told I have the guest. I have Ambassador Prabhu Dayal, former senior diplomat. He's on the screen right now. Thank you, Ambassador Dayal, for being on the show. So, as the Prime Minister concluded his visit, he was the chief guest or the guest of honor at the Independence Day celebrations today. What would you say was significant during this visit? What was achieved during this visit?
Well, Amritpal, first of all, thanks for having me on your show. You know, Prime Minister Modi's visit to the Maldives on its 60th Independence Day as guest of honor marks a significant step towards improved relations. Now, following a period of strained relations, there are signs that the Maldives has moved towards a more cooperative stance towards India. Now, this is very good for us. The Maldives holds an important position amongst India's maritime neighbors. It is strategically important due to its location in the Indian Ocean.
Right.
For its, its location makes it a key player in regional power dynamics and maritime trade. Now, India has historically been engaged in various efforts aimed at bolstering the defense and security infrastructure in the Maldives. India also provided a lot of financial aid and help towards maintaining, the infrastructure and the well-being of the people there. Now, however, after President Mohammad Muizzu took over the reins of power in Maldives, its relations with India experienced a period of strain. Muizzu had campaigned for the presidency on a platform advocating the withdrawal of Indian military personnel from the Maldives. Now, this rhetoric, aimed at bolstering Maldivian sovereignty and nationalism, created friction with India. And President Muizzu's initial policy sought to distance the Maldives from India and draw closer to China. And this signaled a shift from the previous administration's India First policy. So therefore, while Muizzu originally pursued a policy of diversifying
to understand, Ambassador, if I can understand from you,
strengthening ties with China, he has now begun to recalibrate and reset the ties, as is very evident from developments relating to Prime Minister Modi's visit. This shift towards repairing and strengthening ties with India is very visible from recent developments. And I think that this shift towards pragmatic diplomacy suggests that the Maldives is recognizing the strategic importance of India and is now seeking to balance relationships with China and India. Now, therefore, I repeat,
Ambassador, can I stop you and ask you here, Ambassador, why was Dr. Muizzu, when he, was getting into the elections and in the beginning of his term, for example, he chose the first port of call after assuming presidency as China and not India. Then the whole Lakshadweep controversy came up. So why was there outing of the Indian small contingent that was placed there for their maritime security? But why was Dr. Moizu so anti-India, and what changed that he is shifting gears now?
Well, clearly Moizu was under the influence of China. He thought that India had begun to sort of become, overbearing in the relations with the Maldives, which was a wrong notion. It was a wrong perception. And the Chinese definitely were playing a role in egging him towards an anti-India policy. Nonetheless, the important point is that he has begun to see what is really in the interests of Maldives. Particularly, if you see the remarks that he made at the banquet which he hosted for Prime Minister Modi, it becomes evident that he is again realizing the importance of India. He called India as being the Maldives' closest and most trusted partner. He also said that his government's vision is clear, and that is to build a resilient, inclusive, and forward-looking economy that is vibrant and would empower the youth of the Maldives. Particularly, there are various areas which he highlighted where he sees that cooperation with India is very important. For instance, he spoke of the fact that Maldives wants to thrive in the digital age and wants to ensure peace and security in the region. And for this, he said the role which India will play and has been playing is very important. So, in other words, what he was highlighting during his remarks, particularly at the banquet speech, was that partnership with India remains invaluable. And of course, on his part, Prime Minister Modi stressed that India will remain the first responder for the Maldives and that it will continue to support the Maldives in strengthening its defense capabilities. Let me highlight the fact that Prime Minister announced a $565 million credit line, saying that this will be used for projects linked to infrastructure development in line with the priorities of the Maldivian people. So now clearly there is a resetting and recalibrating of bilateral ties, and this is good for both the Maldives as well as for India.
Absolutely. And also, I mean, the TORs or the terms of reference of the FTA or the free trade agreement, which is the first step towards starting the free trade talks, was announced at that, signing of agreements.
Yes, certainly. The whole idea that there should be the India-Maldives free trade agreement received a lot of prominence, and the two sides decided to launch the process of finalizing this trade agreement. But in addition, there were several other agreements and memoranda of understanding which were signed during Prime Minister's visit. And these will all strengthen the bilateral relationship between India and the Maldives. Of course, well, first and foremost is the agreement for the line of credit of, as I said, $565 million or rupees 4,850 crores to Maldives. And also an agreement on reducing the annual debt repayment obligations. The MOU on cooperation in the field of fisheries and aquaculture. The MOU between the Indian Institute of Tropical Meteorology and the Ministry of Sciences and the Maldives Meteorological Services. These are very important because, the environment and climate change are important considerations for Maldives because it faces the threat of being swamped by the oceans. Likewise, the MOU on the cooperation in the field of sharing digital solutions again was something that was being highlighted by the Maldives, just because President Moizu has emphasized how he wants to take the youth of his country into the digital age. So there are all these agreements, which certainly set the stage for closer cooperation between India and Maldives. And I think that all these make the visit of the Prime Minister extremely important. Let me also highlight that while earlier Moizu had been somewhat critical of Prime Minister Modi, now in his banquet speech, he said that Prime Minister Modi is a wonderful person who is very fond of building relations with India's neighbors. He said that the Maldives and India have a very good relationship, and that goes back century. And he said that with PM Modi's leadership, cooperation between the two governments is going to be even more prosperous in the days ahead. So I think the really difficult days in the India-Maldives relationship seem to be over, and we are moving towards a better stage where the relations will be developed on multiple fronts.
Okay. Ambassador, if I were to understand from you, one understands why Maldives is important from India's perspective. The Prime Minister mentioned it during his speech there, banquet speech. He said, you are central to our neighborhood first policy, you are central to our Sagar policy. So, the kind of assistance, the line of credit, the infrastructure building, etc. It's important to India from the point of view of, say, security, maritime security. They sit on a very important, they sit on a very important geographical area, and they're right next to us. And given the Chinese, the way they've sort of shown interest, so India is a little wary of them. If we were to understand the Maldivian point of view, why is India important to them? Say if they need economic partnership, they want developmental assistance, China has deeper pockets than you. It can give them more money than you need. If they need some kind of maritime security assistance for their forces, the Chinese have more. The Chinese in the PLA Navy is far outnumbers your Navy and the vessels that they have. So why is India important to Maldives? Only because they are geographically closer and could be first responders, or anything beyond that?
The Maldives is recognizing the strategic importance of not just China, but of India too. Both as regional powers, and therefore it is seeking to balance its relationships with the two countries. Now, let me also mention that there have been some concerns within the Maldives about its debt burden to China. China's checkbook diplomacy is notorious, and there are several countries which have fallen in the Chinese trap. And surely the government of Maldives has begun to realize that developing such indebtedness to China and yielding to all the overtures which the Chinese make to suck in countries into their debt trap, this is not going to be in the long-term interest of the Maldives. And therefore, it realizes that its friendship with India is as important as the overtures that it is receiving from China. Let me also state that both President Muizu and Prime Minister Modi emphasized the historical ties. These are time-tested ties. And Prime Minister emphasized that the India-Maldives relations are centuries old, and that we are neighbors, partners, and true friends who stand together in times of need. So the important point is that Indian diplomacy has worked, and we have been able to convince the Maldives that hostility towards India is not in its own interest, and that therefore it should work towards strengthening the partnership which is time-tested and which has existed since long.
And the multifaceted partnership, development partnership, economic partnership, defense and security partnership, infrastructure development partnership. Ambassador Prabhudev, thank you very much for taking out time and lending us your insights. That's all the time we have on the show for this discussion. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much.
And let's now take a look at other stories making news. Marking the World Mangrove Day, Union Minister for Environment, Forest and Climate Change, Bhupender Yadav, underscored the urgent need for collective action to protect and conserve mangroves, which he described as nature's shield against climate change, land degradation and biodiversity loss. Union Home Minister Amit Shah has called on law enforcement agencies to adopt dedicated and coordinated efforts to bring back fugitives involved in terrorism and smuggling. He made the remarks during the inauguration of the two-day National Security Strategies Conference 2025, which was held in New Delhi on Friday. 17 members of parliament have been conferred with the prestigious Sansad Ratna Awards 2025, celebrating their exemplary performance in parliament. The award recognizes MPs who have shown outstanding contributions in debates, private member bills, questions raised, and overall participation in the democratic process. And still to come up on DD India NewsHour, India marks the 26th anniversary of the Kargil Vijay Diwas. And the United Arab Emirates, the UAE, to host the 2025 edition of the Men's Asia Cup from September 9th to the 28th. And Game 1 of the FIDE Women's Chess World Cup final between Indian stars Koneru Hampi and Divya Deshmukh ends in a draw.
Can the US launch a bombing campaign against Iran? The Philippines vessel suffered structural damage. The saga of child sexual abuse is the United States China's debt trap strategy. Truth is stranger than fiction. But sometimes hard to uncover. Trust us to tell the truth, unadulterated and pure, of every story that matters to you. You read between the lines, cut the clutter, and connect the dots to get you the full picture. Watch Connecting the Dots at these times with me, only on DD.
You're watching DD India NewsHour. I'm Amritpal Singh. Let's take a look at other stories. Prime Minister Narendra Modi laid the foundation stone and inaugurated and dedicated to the nation various development projects after his return from Male in the Maldives. These projects are worth over 4,800 crore rupees. He was speaking at a public event in Thoothukudi in Tamil Nadu on Saturday. These landmark projects across multiple sectors will significantly enhance regional connectivity, boost logistics, efficiency, strengthen clean energy infrastructure, and improve the quality of life for citizens across Tamil Nadu. Addressing the gathering, the Prime Minister said that all projects will make Thoothukudi and Tamil Nadu a hub of connectivity, clean energy, and new opportunities.
इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर और एनर्जी ये किसी भी स्टेट के डेवलपमेंट की बैकबोन होते हैं। इन 11 इयर्स में इंफ्रा और एनर्जी पर हमारा फोकस ये बताता है कि तमिलनाडु का विकास हमारी कितनी बड़ी प्रायोरिटी है। आज की सभी परियोजनाएं भी थूथुकुडी और तमिलनाडु को कनेक्टिविटी, क्लीन एनर्जी और नई अपॉर्चुनिटीज का हब बनाएगी।
And in line with his commitment to the developing world-class air infrastructure and enhancing connectivity, Prime Minister Modi also inaugurated the new building at the Thoothukudi airport, developed at a cost of around 450 crore rupees, designed to meet the growing aviation demands of the southern region. Prime Minister Modi also undertook a walkthrough of the new terminal building. While addressing the gathering, the Prime Minister spoke about the recently signed India-U.K. free trade agreement and said that after this agreement, 99% of Indian products sold in Britain will be tax-free. Take a listen.
FTA एग्रीमेंट के बाद ब्रिटेन में बिकने वाले 99% भारतीय प्रोडक्ट्स पर कोई टैक्स नहीं लगेगा। ब्रिटेन में भारतीय चीजें सस्ती होंगी तो वहां डिमांड बढ़ेगी और यहां भारत में उन चीजों के निर्माण के लिए ज्यादा मौके बनेंगे। भारत ब्रिटेन एफटीए से तमिलनाडु के युवाओं को, हमारे छोटे उद्योगों, एमएसएमईज को, स्टार्टअप्स को सबसे अधिक लाभ होगा। इससे इंडस्ट्री हो, हमारे मछुआरे भाई बहन हो या फिर रिसर्च और इनोवेशन, सबके लिए फायदा ही फायदा है।
And Union Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman said that it is bilateral trade which is taking priority over multilateral trade. Addressing an event, Sitharaman stated that bilateral agreements have been signed in the last 4-5 years with Australia, UAE and the United Kingdom. She added that negotiations are progressing well with the United States as well as the European Union.
On trade, I think you're seeing it covered in the media every day. It is bilateral trade which has taken priority over multilateral. Is that good? Is that bad? I can't comment now. But at least on bilateral, we are moving forward. And you're seeing in the last 4-5 years, agreements with Australia, agreements with the UAE. Yesterday, the United Kingdom. Negotiations are well progressing with the US and also with the European Union.
Okay, now news about the Kargil Vijay Diwas, which is commemorating 26 years of India's victory over Pakistan in the Kargil War. Observed on the 26th of July, the day marks 26 years of sacrifice, valor and an unbreakable national spirit. The nation marked the 26th anniversary of the Kargil Vijay Diwas on Saturday at a ceremony at the Kargil War Memorial in Diwas. General Upendra Dwivedi paid heartfelt tributes to the fallen soldiers of the Kargil War, lauding their unwavering courage and sacrifice. He reflected on the Indian Army's historic victory in 1999 and its resolute defense of national sovereignty during the recent Operation Sindoor.
As the nation marks the 26th anniversary of Kargil Vijay Diwas on July 26th, the Indian Army commemorated it with solemnity, pride and nationwide participation, honoring the valor and supreme sacrifice of soldiers during the 1999 Kargil War. The central event was held at the Kargil War Memorial in Diwas over 2 days. General Upendra Dwivedi paid heartfelt tribute to the fallen soldiers of the Kargil War.
1999 में भारतीय सेना ने ऑपरेशन विजय के अंतर्गत कारगिल की ऊंचाइयों पर एक अद्वितीय विजय प्राप्त की थी। उस युद्ध में भारतीय सेना ने ऊंची पहाड़ियों पर बैठे पाकिस्तान सैनिकों और घुसपैठियों को खदेड़कर हमारी सीमा से बाहर कर दिया था। इसी परंपरा को आगे बढ़ाते हुए ऑपरेशन सिंदूर के दौरान भी भारतीय सेना ने उसी अदम्य साहस और दृढ़ संकल्प के साथ पाकिस्तान समर्थित टेररिस्ट इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर को निशाना बनाया और पाकिस्तान की अन्य आक्रामक कार्रवाइयों को प्रभावशाली ढंग से विफल करते हुए एक निर्णायक जीत हासिल की।
Besides General Upendra Dwivedi, tribute to fallen soldiers of Kargil War was also paid by Minister of Labour and Employment and Minister of Youth Affairs and Sports Dr. Mansukh Mandavia, Minister of State for Defence Sanjay Seth and Lieutenant Governor of Ladakh Kavinder Gupta.
And I feel very grateful to the nation because even after 26 years, they did not forget the sacrifice of my father and many others like him. So it's like I'm very grateful, and the way they have welcomed us, the way they have cared for us, the entire army, I don't feel like I have come to some new place. They make me feel like family, and they are my family.
बचपन से मैं उनकी दिलेरी, उनकी जाबाजी के किस्से सुनता आया हूँ. हमें जहाँ भी सम्मानित के लिए बुलाया जाता है तो मैं हमेशा बचपन से बड़ा हुआ हूँ, तब से उनको ही मेरा आइडियल माना है और हर जगह जाता हूँ तो उनकी किस्से सुनता हूँ तो मुझे बहुत गर्व फील होता है कि मैं उनका लड़का हूँ.
The occasion witnessed tributes by senior military and civil dignitaries, the lighting of 545 lamps in memory of fallen heroes, and the felicitation of Veer Naris and next of kin. The army also reached out to families of all 545 martyrs across India and Nepal. General Upendra Dwivedi inaugurated legacy projects including the Indus Viewpoint, e-Shraddhanjali portal and a QR-based audio gateway.
Today on the 26th Kargil Vijay Diwas or the Kargil Victory Day, wreaths were laid here at the Kargil War Memorial in Dras, which is an annual feature, and the army chief later reminding the nation that just like the Kargil War, in Operation Sindoor too, India replied to Pakistan's cowardice with valor and bravery. With camera person Manmohan at the Kargil War Memorial in Dras, this is Nandita Dagar for DD India.
And time now for some sports news. Let's first talk about the Asian Cricket Council, which on Saturday confirmed that this year's 2020 Asia Cup tournament will take place in the United Arab Emirates in September this year. The latest edition will be played on the 2020 international format with 8 teams participating. The previous edition of the event was in a 50-over format, but this year's tournament was scheduled as a shorter format event in preparation for the next year's 2020 World Cup in India. In the opening game of the FIDE Women's Chess World Cup final between Indian stars Koneru Hampi and Divya Deshmukh ended in a draw on Saturday. The game delivered an intense and an intricate battle between Hampi and Deshmukh, marking a historic all-Indian championship clash which ended in a hard-fought draw after 41 moves in Batumi in Georgia. With the match level at 0.5 each, the final continues on Sunday with Game 2 starting at 4:45 p.m. Indian time. Should there not be a winner by tomorrow evening, the fate of the World Cup will come down to tie-breaks on Monday. That's all in this edition of DD India NewsHour, but do let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on DD India's mobile app. The app is available both on Android and iOS platforms. You can scan the QR codes you see on your screens to download now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Amritpal Singh from my entire team here in Delhi. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.